All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
Shout out to the real ones out there. Thursday, 4 games, maybe 3-game MLB slate. Early game was only 2 slates. It wasn't even like a nice 4-gamer. Shitty day of baseball. We'd be lying if we said anything else. But hey, there's still money to be made. There's 5 figures up top. Sign me up for 5 figures any day of the week. We will try to do our best. Lead you to the winner's circle. Mike Carr, Tolga, Jacob Stubbs, Bill B in here as always. Love to see the grinders, man. The D-Gens, as Tolga says. Yeah, we're all D-Gens. Talked about that last week. Bring in my man, Gyiraszin. Always good. Fun talking baseball. Shooting the shit with you, Gyiraszin. 4 games. You think probably 3 games. Your Detroit Tigers. Not sure they'll make it due to weather. But what's going on in this Thursday afternoon, Gyiraszin?
Yeah, rainy day here in Detroit. I know them boys are playing down there in Cleveland, but yeah, rainy, shitty, kind of miserable day. Started at like lunchtime, but hey, it's all right. Shit happens. We'll just sit inside like I was talking to you before. I mean, baseball is kind of weak, but hey, we still got a little action. But tonight's going to have to be best ball night title. I mean, I'm going to have to get in them best ball streets mixed up a little bit, getting a few of them drafts. So, you know, I mean, we're getting close. You know, it's great practice for your draft in your home league. I mean, even if you do the $3 ones, I mean, it's just great practice. You get, by the time when you're messing around with your buddies, I bet you'll literally guarantee, you can almost guess. So every time somebody's putting a sticker up there, what's going to happen, because it's just like watching donkeys walk up and feed all damn day. It's pretty easy. And then you can kind of tell where your advantage is. If you can wait for a guy, it's such an advantage in your home league. If you're just playing with a bunch of dudes who get the fantasy football index up at 7-11, it's like Smash City. So yeah, get in there, get involved. And we got the man sitting right here next to me on the damn screen who shipped to 250. I mean, he's got his rankings up on SHIPIT Nation. It's part of the deal here at $59.99. And hey, 3-2-1 special. I forgot.
Yeah.
Even better. So it's just part of what you get here at SHIPIT Nation. So, hey, if it's a boring night in baseball, we got some backdoor little football action coming. You get ready for the season coming up. Nothing better. Rainy, shitty day. I'm going to have a safety meeting, dive into some rankings, pull up titles rankings for some best ball, and I'm going to get down and get busy tonight. So should be some fun.
That sounds like a great night for you, Gyiraszin. There'll be a safety meeting over here as well. Almost done with all the MMA breakdowns. Show tomorrow. Hit the safety meeting after. Watch a little baseball. Do some best ball drafts. Gyiraszin talking a little best ball. Drafters.com. Head over there. Use that promo code SHIPIT. That's what Gyiraszin did. He said he got $100. They gave him 100, matched him 100%. $10, $20 drafts. He has already done. Get in the streets. Use that promo code. And Gyiraszin also mentioned the Blast Off bundle. Was about to say $559 a month, $599 a year. That is still an option for now. Not the best deal, though. Blast Off bundle. 6 months from now. It takes you all the way through Super Bowl Sunday. $53 a month. You get baseball content for the rest of the year. NBA, NHL, PGA, MMA, and NFL projections, ownership, rankings, proprietary tools, core plays, a Discord community, everything you need for one cheap price. Can't beat that deal. Best ball rankings. Best ball, if you have
Oh, looks like we lost our man title. But I'll continue on with the show.
Hold on.
I was going to continue on. It's no problem. I've done that many times.
I don't know how. I somehow, like, on a Mac, I scrolled, I guess, and it took me back. I didn't hit X or anything. And I kept talking. I'm like, wait, what in the world? That's the weirdest thing. Hey, on that note, we're going to talk some baseball. Appreciate that like button. Anyone else? Keith in here. Love the PGA content. Yeah, Tambo and Hoop Crush PGA. Man, that was the craziest thing ever. At least I did it on a nice Thursday with a lot of time to waste. But Gyiraszin, we'll talk pitching again. 4 games on this slate. Probably Roth has a tag is orange. Detroit and the Guardians. There's definitely going to be rain there. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to be monitoring what Roth says. Tyree Skubal, if he was able to be played, if there was no weather in that game, Skubal would be one of the most popular pitchers. Not sure we can get there, but there's still other good options. Lance Lynn will be the most popular, no doubt about that, against the Brewers. Corbin Burns on the mound, though. Zach Gallen on the mound. Rich Hill, Quintana. I don't know. This slate is absolutely gross. One guy I know for sure, no way I'm playing, is Adam Wainwright. The Mets are the best team to stack on the slate. So if we want to play Mets, which I definitely do, got to get a little different at pitching, you think. Talk about these pitchers you like. Break it all down.
Yeah, obviously Skubal being gone, that kind of, I mean, we're going to lose that one game. So we're going to have 3 basically. I mean, the back game, the 10 o'clock games got Lynn and Burns. I mean, I think that's where I'm going to pretty much end up for my pitching at this point. I'm not interested in Gallen. I think, Title, I might play 3 teams tonight, and I think I'm going to probably have 2 Lynn and 1 Burns is probably what I'm going to end up having. And then, you know, on these – and the reason I say I play 3 teams just for education, my own personal thing, on a big slate, I don't mind playing 1 team because I still feel if a guy goes off and is a slate breaker and maybe hits 2 bombs, you know, you don't have to necessarily have that guy if you had the right stack. But in a slate like tonight, you have to have that guy, right? Like there's only 3 games. So if there's a guy who goes off for 30-some points, he's going to be in pretty much the optimal lineup tonight. So I like to mix my teams up a little bit, try to capture – maybe be on the same stack, but have 3 different ways about doing it, right? Or, you know, maybe I hedge against the pitcher sometimes if I don't feel good about it. I feel good about these guys' spots here tonight with Burns and Lynn. And personally, I like it when two pitchers I like are going head to head, especially decent pitchers, because they generally bring out the best of each other. Is something that, you know, I find over and over. Usually the B+ pitcher rises up to that A level. If that's the case, I think with Burns and Lynn here tonight, I think you're going to see both guys come out. I think you're going to see both guys with a decent game here. Just kind of looking at, you know, some of their numbers, you know, the K prop for Burns is sitting at 6.5, and then you got a 6.5 for Lance Lynn. So you're both kind of sitting at the same numbers there. As far as, you know, like last 30 days, Lance Lynn's been striking out righties at a 30% clip, which is definitely something you're going to want to keep your eye on. Where you got Corbin Burns has been sitting at a 17% rate in his last 30 days against righties. So, you know, Lynn's got way better numbers, you know, in the recent times here. I think Lynn, when he put that Dodger uniform on, I think that did something, rejuvenated him a little bit. I do like Lance Lynn in that spot against the Brewers, just because of especially the K rate here. Brewers overall as a team, you know, do sit at about 20%, which is a couple percentage points below MLB average. But, hey, we got a 3-game slate, right? We don't have much really to choose from. I think these 2 are definitely the top 2 for me. Gallen's interesting here, but I'm just not interested in paying up that price. I mean, that's just a little too high for me. I just think we got better options there. But I like Lynn and Corbin Burns a little bit better. Gallen, I just don't like the win equity there either. I think, especially with Lynn, you're going to have, I mean, well, I'm just looking to see what Lynn's a -155 favorite. Gallen's a -108 in San Diego. So, I mean, Lynn's got a better win equity. Overall, for me, Lynn's my SP1. And to be honest, I'm cutting my pool there. I'm not looking at Rich Hills. I'm not looking at Wainwright, definitely not. Quintana's not something I'm looking at. Neither is Curry. So in reality, there's only 3 guys for me I'd even consider playing on FanDuel. Gallen, which I really not, because I'm playing 3 teams, as I mentioned. Lynn and Burns would be my other 2, and Lynn stands out for me. I think he has the better upside.
Yeah, good breakdown. So yeah, you play mainly on FanDuel. On DraftKings, like I think it's, especially if we're assuming we can't play Skubal and Curry due to weather, there's only 6 pitchers on the slate. No chance I'm playing Waino, so that gets you down to 5 pitchers. I think definitely all 5. Like I would keep Rich Hill in the player pool. Jose Quintana I would keep in the player pool. Like they at least have a leash. At least Quintana for sure. As far as Rich Hill, it's the best pitching weather in San Diego. So like I like Gallen more than Corbin Burns personally. I'd rather pick on these Padres than the Dodgers. And ownership is probably relatively the same. But Gallen just got this Padres team last start, 6 innings, 8 Ks, absolutely dominated. Best pitching park on the slate, best pitching weather. So I'd say Gallen's 2 for me. I do like Lynn 1, but when we're talking ownership, like if you're playing the Mets, fading the chalkiest pitcher and Lynn definitely makes sense. I don't mind going a Gallen, Rich Hill, and going to San Diego for a pitching duel. That's actually my favorite route to go is San Diego for the pitching duel. But I like Lance Lynn too. I just think he's going to be really popular. If we lose Scuball and stuff, like Lance Lynn could be 70% owned. Man, maybe going to Corbin Burns Gallen, something like that is interesting. I don't hate Corbin Burns by any means. I just would rather pick on the Padres than the Dodgers. I'm good with Quintana or Hill. I'll side with Rich Hill. Wouldn't play those two together. I'd play one of Lynn, Burns, Gallen, and then you can mix those in. But that's how I see pitching. I'll rank them. I guess I'll rank them with ownership. Gallen 1, Lynn 2, Rich Hill 3, Burns 4, but not a strong lean. You got Lynn 1, Corbin Burns 2. Who would be your third? Gallen, you said?
Gallen would be my third. I'm just don't think I'm going to go that much lower than those three. I think there's some cheap enough offenses that there's this way you can build. I've been messing around with some roster construction. I really wasn't getting frustrated by rostering, the pitching that I was, obviously saying the three guys that I was looking at, mix and matching them up. But yeah, I don't feel as if there's a need to pay down like 8K or, take a shot on some of these slates where I feel like I had to pay up for offense. I just don't feel like, all year title, I've been saying over and over, there's only really one guy I've been afraid of all year on the pitching hill. That's been Spencer Strider, that can throw up a 60 spot, that could definitely, you had to have him. There hasn't been that pitching dominance like we've seen in past years where like everybody used to just roster the top pitcher. And basically if you didn't, the chances of you getting screwed were 50-50. Like you were probably going to lose if one of them went out and threw 60. I've seen 70-point games, like a few times. So I don't feel like that's the case. I just feel like pitching really hasn't been like on these short slate. You mentioned Lynn might be 70%. That'd probably be the case on DK with 2. I think on FanDuel, Lynn probably is going to be in the 30s, maybe in the 40s. And at that case, then at 40, 30 some percent, you're looking at a third of the pool at that point. I feel like I just build the bats I want. I don't, especially if I generally play single entry. So I'm playing like 100 people. So I don't feel as if a lot of times I got to get too crazy. And I think people overthink it too much sometimes. And I just feel as if let the others make mistakes. But yeah, if you're MMEing, yeah, that's a different story. But these single entry tournaments title, it's a lot of chalk, and then you get the guys that are willing to take the chance. But a lot of times I don't feel like you got to get too crazy. And I think that's tonight. I don't think I need to get too crazy at pitcher, and I'm not going to take that chance. That's why I'm sticking with them 3.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. Know the contest you play. Like cash game team should be different than your single entry team. That should be different than your MME team. 10,000 people in a contest, 100,000 people. You got to build lineups a different way, project ownership differently, etc. James brought up a point though. Like if they wait till 9 p.m., the rain should clear out. So yeah, we're not weathermen. I'm going to be looking at Roth, but let's say they delay start and Roth says there's a 60% chance or 70% chance that this game does start. And if it does, there's no delay threats. Then the Scuballs of the world, pretty much just Scuball, I have no interest in the other side, is in play. Maybe you get an ownership discount there because people don't want to take the chance. And if Scuball, like I said, if there was no weather on the slate, Scuball would be my favorite pitcher. 7.2K is just way too cheap. So monitor that for sure. What Roth has to say over there. Free content. You can follow him on Twitter, but don't completely just like Gyirasin's talking right now. He thinks there's only going to be 3 games. Orange is scary right now. Like I'm not taking Scuball and cash by any means. I doubt I get there, but just monitor it. We still have a couple hours. See what he says.
Another thing too to keep in mind when we're in situations like this. I mean, it's Detroit and Cleveland, right? They're neighbors. They play in the same division. They'll cancel those games a hell of a lot easier. Now it's a Thursday night. They're going to go into the weekend. They can doubleheader it, whatever else. Like they're not going to play on a wet field. They're just not going to. So, and especially a division game. Now, if this was Detroit playing the Dodgers, that's a different story. They'll stretch it out and do whatever they got to do to get these games in, especially when, these teams don't come into town that often. But I'm sure the Indians and Tigers got a few more series of schedule along the way. So they won't be afraid to pull the plug on that one pretty quickly. But, we already know Washington's a pain in the ass. There's certain places that are pain in the ass, but keep in mind, whenever it's a division game, just keep in mind, it's like I'd go to these Tiger games and, you'd sit around and they'd wait a rainout out for the Angels all damn night. But if it was the Indians or the, somebody, and I'm calling them the Indians too. Don't give me no shit.
Yeah, I'm not. I heard it and I was like, yeah, he knows what he's saying.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. But, like if it's the Indians or the Royals or division team, they basically, they'll cancel that shit real quick.
That's funny you said that. What's going on, Jake? Richie Smalls, what's up, my man? Best ball guy right there. Andrew Martinez, so if Lynn is mega chalk, would you stack against them? Helping me do my job, segueing right into game by game. Fortunately for you, that is the last game of the night, but you're always in here. You know the drill. 4 games to talk about. New York Mets, St. Louis Cardinals, Jose Quintana, Adam Wainwright. Not only is it Adam Wainwright, who very well could be his last start ever. I'm going to keep saying that till it is his last start. Dude's got nothing left in the tank. We've been stacking against him for weeks now. 10.5 total. It's also the best hitting weather on the slate. Almost 90 degrees in St. Louis. I mean, man, guaranteed 9th inning at bat. There's cheap pieces at the bottom of the Mets orders, some expensive pieces. Vogel's in there and Pete Alonso, so you can only play one of the two. They're both going to get ownership, but at least you can't – and not everyone can have the same Mets stack because of that first base position. But, yeah, Mets by far the top team on the slate. I don't think it's close. And that would be something where if you're talking about wanting to go against the chalkiest pitcher like you do a Brewers 3-man mini, you fade Lance Lynn, you go a Gallon Rich Hill that I was talking about. Maybe you take a shot on Screwball because Ross says it's 60-40 ownership discount. He might be 20%. Just if you play the Mets, you can't play Lynn. I guess, I don't know, if Screwball's not there, Lynn / Corbin Burns and Gallon, and then stack the cheap Mets with them. Like, everyone's going to be on that same route. 4-game, 3-game slate. You just can't do that. So talk a little game theory. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Title, have you seen 2 starting pitchers with a combined K prop of 6? I mean, one's 2.5, the other one's 3.5. I mean, that's
pretty bad.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, we'd be laughing at the 2.5, and then the guy across the aisle's got a 3.5. So, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, obviously Wainwright hasn't been missing bats. I'll tell you what, too. I mean, a couple of these Mets, you look at Brandon Nimmo, this dude literally is sitting at top 3 in OPS in all of MLB in the last 7 days. The dude's smashing the ball. Vogelbeck's in the top 20 of OPS in the last 7 days too. So you got couple lefties that are on fire, seeing the ball really well. So that definitely is a concern for Wainwright. But yeah, I see this game could be a stinking softball game. Both these pitchers stink. I mean, 2 old guys that probably be better off working in the bullpen as a bullpen coach than actually pitching. So maybe they ought to go and, maybe they could work out at the home run derby because that's the way they do, seems like in the regular season. But yeah, I definitely like attacking Wainwright more. I think more people are going to do that. I think that's going to be the popular, obviously the Mets are going to be the popular stack. So, yeah, I mean, it's a 3-game slate. Like I said, sometimes I like to just build 3 teams. I might have 3 Met stacks, but I might have it just 3 different ways, right? I mean, if you only have Vogelback on one of your team and that fat fool hits 2 homers, you're going to be – I mean, you got to have Vogelback. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be tonight. So I'm going to try to mix up some of my Mets here and see what's going on. But, man, them Mets fans were really riding him. Or I call him a fat fool because they were calling him that in the front of the New York Post. They were ripping on him all up and down because that guy couldn't hit out of a paper bag. All of a sudden, they started ripping on his weight. The dude's in the top of the OPS charts here. So I kind of think it's kind of funny. But, that's just me being silly anyway. But, yeah, I like these Mets. And then as far as the Cards, I'll tell you what. They've been pretty hot themselves, too. I'm just looking here as far as team stats go. Over the last, I think 15 days, I think they're in the top. Yeah, they're top 4 team OPS. I mean, so you're running a team overall that's hitting really well. Edmonds been hitting well. Goldschmidt's been hitting some bombs. Nolan Arenado hit a homer the other day. So, I mean, all these Cardinals, I like the Cardinals line up and down, even though they can't do shit. Basically, both of these teams are probably the 2 biggest, including the White Sox, have to be the 2 biggest disappointments in all of MLB. I'd say if you're a fan of either one of these 2 teams, you're probably shaking your head, and you probably would argue with each other who had a more disappointing season. But, yeah, I think you're going to see some fireworks here. I kind of think both these bullpens kind of just gave up. They stink. They don't give a shit. They're just out there to throw the ball. I think this game has potential all over it. Hitting, it's got it all over. I think I'm just stacking the Mets, going to stack it all different ways. Maybe throw in a couple other different stacks, hopefully different there, but I'm all over the Mets. I think the Mets are the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame people. You make 20 teams today, you have 100% Mets 5-man stacks. Like Waino, the gift that keeps on giving. I don't think he's going to be given too much longer. He's not going to have a chance. He'll be out of the rotation, but keep going. I love the Mets. The Cardinals, yeah, the two highest team totals on the slate. So the Cardinals are going to be the second most popular, and I'm jamming the first most popular team. I probably don't want as many Cardinals. But yeah, in a vacuum, like Quintana, old lefty, ain't blowing the ball past anyone. Card's got some big bats. It makes sense on paper. I just like the Mets so much more. And again, there's only so many ways to go at pitching. You can't eat chalk at every spot. So I guess the Cardinals would be one spot. I'd be fine getting away, but not a strong lean one bit. Talking more game theory. Keeping it rolling. Next game, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Guardians, Tyreek Skubal, Xavier Curry. This is, again, the weather game. Roth has a take. This orange, very possible postponement, delay risk, whatever. We'll talk as if it goes, though. Let's just pretend it's a late start. They do play. I mean, picking on Skubal, the thing is, like, it's so hard to do. I have no interest in the Guardians because if it was a normal game theory slate, there was no weather on it, Skubal, the most popular pitcher on the slate, sure, you can go 4-game slate, play the game theory route every single time. It comes in under-owned than what it should be, in my opinion. However, that's not going to be the case with Skubal's ownership. So no thanks to the Guardians. It would be the Tigers against anything. The Xavier Curry cat looks no good. Your boy Torkelson, been on fire. Riley Green hit a dong yesterday. Badu at the top of the order. Like, I would have interest in some of these Tigers. Gary Carpenter. It depends what Kevin Ross says at the end of the day. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, for one, Torque hit his 20th homer. That would be a definite something that I've been smiling about. That's my boy. I mean, that dude, the only reason I liked him when I went down to Toledo, man, you could hear the sound off his bat. It's a different sound, man. The guy crunches the shit out of the ball. They brought him up too early. That was his problem. They threw him right in the fire, but he's figuring it out. I think the Tigers are figuring it out. I think having a Hall of Famer like Miggy probably chirping in your ear, helping him out, definitely has helped. But
that was a bomb he hit a couple days ago.
Yeah, you know what? It's cool when the old guy hits one. And I tell anybody in Detroit who gives him shit, he has a free pass as long as they're shitty for as long as he wants to play. I don't give a shit. They're not. I mean, you take him out and you add, I don't care who you add, and they're still in the pretty much same spot. I mean, their pitching is what really has hurt them. But either way, I like the Tigers. I mean, Carpenter's been hitting well. Riley Green's been smashing the top of this lineup. Badu. It seems like the Tigers are a pesky team. They're not giving up. They have every reason to have mailed it in already. They don't. They keep fighting. This Curry guy isn't anybody that really enamors me. Just kind of looking he doesn't really strike anybody out. 14% against righties, 18% against lefties. He's got a 43% high fly ball rate against righties, 28% against lefties. I mean, he's not swinging and missing. Nobody's swinging and miss. 7% swing and miss rate against lefties. I mean, the dude's just not really doing anything right on the mound. But, yeah, I think the Tigers here in a decent spot. I think if they do play the game and they do come roll out after 9 o'clock, I can tell you'll get half or probably a third of the ownership they would have if this game had been green all day. I'll tell you that right now. You'll get the Tigers really low owned. And it's definitely interesting, that's for sure. But now keep in mind on FanDuel, the only good thing is, I mentioned it last week, if it gets PPD'd before that Dodger game, you're able to swap these dudes out now. So you got a 9:40 game and a 10:10 game. I'm going to guess by 9:40 that Tiger game is going to be PPD'd. So you can swap them out. So now I don't think they'll wait it out because it's, as I mentioned, it's a division game. They'll just decide if they're going to play a doubleheader throughout the weekend or whatever. So I feel decent if you want to give it a shot. Better on FanDuel than definitely DK. But FanDuel, I think that game would be PPD'd by them 2 games. You got 4 teams to make up what you have with the Tigers. You should be able to come up with something decent. You probably won't get jammed into just having one team. And you got 3 guys that I all recommended. You're going to have low ownership if you do get jammed into that. So I don't mind that at all. So I think that might be something you could go Mets and go some Indians. And if the Indian game gets rained out, you can pivot to any of those 4 teams at the late game. So I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it's way safer, and it's probably a decent strategy to actually sit with a couple teams that you can wait till later to see what happens. So may not be a bad idea.
Yeah, no, definitely a good shout. Know the difference in scoring FanDuel, DraftKings. However, on DK, like you play GPPs anyway, you play for first place. That's where most of the money is nowadays. Tigers will be, and again, I'm not, if Ross says this game's 70-30, it's going to get postponed, maybe not the best, not the risk I would take personally, but if he goes 70-30 that it will play, ownership's still probably going to be down. People will be scared. Take that ownership discount a little bit. They'll come in under own. Yes, you get a chance at a 0, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can stack the Braves and they'll get you. You can stack the Mets today and Waino's going to pitch a 7-inning no-hitter. It's baseball. Like, they'll get 0s and you're not winning anyway. So just know the risk, reward, ownership. That's the game we play. Andrew Martinez, yeah, the Cardinals side will be lower owned than the Mets side for sure. Couple games left, 2 games left on this slate again. Monitor weather in that Cleveland game. 115 degenerates out there playing this 4-game Thursday baseball slate. You absolutely love to see that. Hit that like button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. And if you want all of our content, MLB projections, stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, core plays, slate plan, cash reports, as well as NFL content going to be coming up, projections, ownership, MLB ownership, NBA, NHL, best ball, MMA, PGA, so much content, no better price. Blast Off Bundle, 321, $321 for the next 6 months. Comes out to about $53 a month. Get in the Discord if you do join. No better time. That price will be going $69 a month, $699 a year, starting September 11th. 2 games, Gyiraszin, Arizona Diamondbacks, San Diego Padres, Zach Gallen, Rich Hill on the mound, 70 degrees in San Diego. So I think actually if that Scooball game gets scrapped or like people just can't click that button, I think people will go Rich Hill at 6.4K due to the price tag. So just naturally, if that's the case, instead of picking on I don't mind if you pick on the Dodgers against Corbin Burns, but I guess like I'd rather pick on Rich Hill than I would Lance Lynn. I'd rather pick on, that's pretty much the only other one I'm comparing, unless it is Scooball, but I'd rather pick on Rich Hill than I would Tyreek Scooball. So I guess the D-backs at their ownership, probably one of my favorite stacks, how to pair them with the Mets and just get different. And again, that's just assuming because Rich Hill is so cheap on DK, there are spend-up bats people want. Rich Hill is going to get ownership. He'll be the most popular guy down below. So mix in the lefties, Corbin Carroll, good way to get different lefty-lefty. Christian Walker's absolutely been on fire. Kyle Lewis might be hitting the middle of the order cheap. Bottom of the order is always cheap too. So I like some of these D-backs. No thank you for the Padres. What do you see?
That's an interesting point you bring up about how, if Scooball scratched on DK, for sure, that's something I could see Rich Hill definitely getting, because they're not going to reconstruct their whole team, right? People fall in love with them bats, right? And they don't want to.
People are going to want to play the expensive bats, yeah.
Right. So I think that's a good point, there about Hill. I mean, I was just looking at his game log. The dude's 6.1 innings, 11 hits, 8 walks, and he's given up 9 earned runs. I mean, he's not been anything great here, right? I mean, I was just looking at his stats, his last 30 days, his K percentage against righties is down. It's at 16%. He is up a little bit against lefties. He's at 22%. One thing I found interesting, his ground ball rate is at 53% for lefties, but it's at 40% for righties, and his fly ball rate, hard hit percentage, is at 52% for righties. Now, we got Kettle Marte, you got Pham Walker, Kyle Lewis. They got some power at the top of this lineup here. Corbin Carroll, as you mentioned, is a lefty that definitely has some power. So I don't mind this at all. I think this might be a good play here, especially if you're on DK and that game does get scratched. I think you hit it on the head. I think that's a great play. I think the two sites are a little different. I think really the play is the Indians, as we just talked, because if they do get PPD'd, you can switch to the 4 and you still use the Mets. But I think it's possibly the play on DK to do as you just mentioned here. And if that game does get scratched or you're going to get lower ownership, I think Rich Hill is going to pick up a majority of that ownership. Man, these D-backs are glowing, standing out more. If I was playing on DK, I think that'd be the way to go.
Yeah, no, we're lockstep. Again, I think Rich Hill comes in over-owned, just the nature of this slate. It's not often you get leverage off of a bad pitcher in general. And I agree with you on FanDuel. I don't like it nearly as much. Rich Hill's not going to get ownership. I like the Tigers a lot more. I'm not on the Guardians, the Indians, if you will, not on them as much. I like Scooball, assuming, again, that game does play. But the Tigers side, I definitely do like. And if they do get postponed, at least hopefully DraftKings opens it back up. And it is or not DraftKings, FanDuel, because once it gets postponed, they have to go in whatever software and make sure it is unlocking the game so you can switch. So last time it took like 10, 15 minutes, and it was getting panicked a little bit, but hopefully they do that, and then you can switch to the late games. But yeah, sign me up for these D-backs on DraftKings. Last game of the slate, Milwaukee Brewers, Los Angeles Dodgers, Corbin Burnes, Lance Lynn, 75 degrees, wind blowing out a little bit in Dodger Stadium. Two good pitchers. Andrew Martinez asked earlier, don't worry, I didn't forget. If Lynn's going to be the most popular, can you stack the Brewers? The answer is of course, especially on a 3-4 game slate. Lance Lynn does have power issues as well. Some of these lefties, Christian Yelich, Sam Frelick, Carlos Santana, don't mind any of those guys. If you want to throw in, I always love myself some Tyrone Taylor. The lefties is my favorite way to go, though. If I'm playing Christian Yelich, like I'd rather pay up for Pete Alonso. There's Zach Gallen. There are pieces to pay for. Brewers will be really low owned, get leverage that way. I like the D-back side more, though. Personally, would limit Brewers to 3, man. Dodgers against Burnes. They have a 4.17 total. It's the third highest on the slate. 3-4 game slate. Dodgers will be low owned. You could do crazier, but again, the pinch hit risk at the bottom of the order now. Expecting all the lefties, Outman, Hayward, Peralta, and then when a lefty comes in from the pen, you probably get the Kiki Hernandez's, Chris Taylor's, just homer to the world. Tough to play that game, so not as much interest for me. What do you see?
Yeah, I agree with you. Definite pinch hit risk there, especially more so that they added Kiki to their roster here recently, and then they got JD back too, so they got 2 more righties back in that lineup. But you know me, I love me some Mookie. I just can't play Mookie today. I always would say play Mookie. I just am not interested in playing him against Corbin Burnes. But if you do like to play Mookie and want to pay that price today, you're going to get him at less than 5% owned. I mean, he's one of the best fantasy players on the season. So, I mean, to me, you could always play him if you want. I'm not going to get there today because I want one of those 3 better pitchers. And I'm always one to buy in when you got an A and a B plus, like 2 good pitchers, decent pitchers, above average pitchers that are going head to head. And especially, the Dodgers are honing it in here at the end of the year. Obviously bring Lance Lynn. He's seems to be focused a little bit more than he was on his previous team. So, I just like both sides of the hill today. I'm not really interested in too many bats, but it's a 3-game slate. So, I mean, one-offs, I don't mind the Mets on FanDuel. I don't mind the Mets in 4 one-offs if you want to do that. I don't mind. I think that's a decent strategy on slates like today. I don't generally like doing that because I like the correlation part of it. But on a day like today, maybe fill in some Mets, pick out a few guys that can hit homers. You only need, a homer or 2. You don't need a big inning. I just don't like the Brewers lineup too to flip over a lot against Lance Lynn. I think that's a problem. You're going to get the middle part and bottom of that lineup. You're going to start running into some issues with some of them. So, I mean, you look at, the bottom of that lineup you're talking Canna, Mosterio, Terang, Taylor. I mean, I just don't think these guys are going to overwhelm Lance Lynn. I just think both of these guys are going to come out. I think they're both going to have decent games. I think the bet in this game to me would be the under in the first 5. If you ask me, I think that's a pretty good bet here today. So that's something I was actually looking at beforehand. But for me, I'm not interested in any bets, but I can't blame you for any one-offs here at all.
Yeah, so Brad's probably right on time. He's probably right at the point when we were talking about the Mets. Now we're talking about the Brewers, but I mentioned if you do play Mets and if you eat some chalk at pitching, you got to get different somewhere. Brewers lefties, I'm on the same boat here. Preferred as a mini. Yelich, Santana, Frelick, those are the guys that can get to Lynn. He does offer some power too. So let's go top 2 stacks. We'll do low-ish owned pitcher, however that works today, dong of the day, and we'll get on out of here. But appreciate everyone out there. Take 1 second out of your day right now. Hit that like button. Bringing you a 3/4 game show on this Thursday afternoon. Not many are doing that. Gyiraszin giving some great info, giving some laughs. No better no better guy out there than Gyiraszin if you want to have some laughs. But all right, Gyiraszin, let's do 2 stacks on this slate. I'm going Mets easily 1. I like the D-backs though for number 2. Who do you got?
I'm gonna concur. Mets definitely 1 by far. I think Cardinals are going to be 2 ownership wise, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to use that what we were just talking about. I like the Indians / D-backs. Indians on FanDuel, D-backs on DK, just for the strategy reasons that we talked about earlier. And don't be at me later on Twitter if that game doesn't get postponed in time, but it's still the strategy part. I think you get great leverage on it. I think the Tigers are in a great spot in that Indian Cleveland game. So for me, I think that's definitely somewhere that I want to do. Did I just say Indians D-backs? I meant to say Tigers D-backs.
You said Indians on FanDuel.
Yeah, I meant Tigers. Yeah, whatever. Sorry, I screwed that up. I realized what I said. I just get excited to say Indians. But yeah, I think the Tigers for me on FanDuel, D-backs on DK, but Mets number 1 for me. My low-owned pitcher, I think at this point, I mean, I'm not going any of the other 3. But I think Burns will get the lower ownership of the top three that I had just because it's the Dodgers on the other side. I do like the K upside he has there. But then for me, the dong of the day, I am going to say, let's go. I don't want to say a Met. That's like too easy, isn't it? Can't say a Met.
Just say someone that's putting it over the fence.
Nemo's is hot. He'd be my easy dong play of the day, but I'm going to pull a Tiger out of there, and I'm going Kerry Carpenter's going to hit a homer for the Tigers. So
I like it. My low-owned pitcher, I'll go Zach Gallen. Again, he's going to get some ownership for sure, but I like him. Best pitching weather, best pitching park. My dong of the day, it almost feels like cheating just because, man, dude is on an absolute tear, but I don't think ownership will really be there. Christian Walker, 4 in his last 3 days, 5 in his last 5 days, double dong yesterday. I think Christian Walker keeps it up, takes Rich Hill deep. Awesome stuff, Gyiraszin. What's going on, Swaggy Pete? Hope everything's going well with you. Gyiraszin, always fun on this Thursday. Maybe next week we'll get a couple more games than 4, but did the best for the people, monitor weather.
Are you on tomorrow? I'm on tomorrow, too. We can just have fun tomorrow. You're not on tomorrow?
You and Ham. I'm talking some MMA.
Me and the Ham Man. All right. That's cool. Yeah, I'm filling in for Nades tomorrow, so we'll have some fun. We'll be back here talking some more baseball. But, hey, as we mentioned, title man, we got our man title right here is rankings for best ball. You get bored tonight and baseball doesn't catch it for you. You can get ready, get yourself in them best ball streets, and use that promo code we got. So make sure you guys check that out. So definitely, I'm going to get in there tonight. You might see me in some of them draft boards, but should be some fun tonight. So we're looking forward to mixing up some football.
Always fun. I think preseason football is on, safety meetings in play, best ball in play, baseball on, money to be made. Life's good, man. As always, use that promo code SHIPIT at drafters.com. Head over to shipitnation.com. Blast off bundle 321. $53 a month, gets you all of our MLB content, projections, ownership, core plays, cast report, all that good stuff to go along with MMA Saturday, PGA going on, showdown content up on the site, NHL, NBA, everything you need, best ball rankings. We have everything over here. One low price. Awesome stuff. As always, Gyiraszin. Check him and Hamwich out tomorrow, breaking down a big MLB slate. We'll be back, Big Marley and I, talking some MMA in the morning, though. Have a great night, everybody. Let's see some Shipping Nation logos up top for Gyiraszin on Titletown. Good luck, everybody.